Well, that was certainly a Conjuring movie. The Conjuring film series is loosely based on the cases of famed, or in some circles, infamous supernatural investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, most well known for their private museum of occult artifacts that they've collected throughout their many years of investigations. Now, obviously, the existence of the supernatural and life after death has been a hotly debated topic for essentially the entire time human beings have roamed the earth, and of course, that means that the validity of these investigations conducted by the Warrens has often been called into question. I am not recording this to inflame that debate once again. This is simply me providing you a context for one of the most successful horror movie franchises ever made. Conjuring Extended Cinematic Universe began on July 19, 2013. God, 2013. If only we knew it was coming. With the release of the first Conjuring film based on the Warrens' investigation into the alleged haunting of the Perron family in Rhode Island. The film was met with critical and, more importantly, huge commercial success. A sequel had already been planned prior to the first film's release, which seems a bit presumptuous, but of course was completely validated following a $319 million profit on a $20 million budget. Following this incredible box office success, the first spin-off film, Annabelle, was released in 2014, followed by The Conjuring 2 in 2016, which was followed by Annabelle Creation in 2017, which, to be fair, is probably the best film in the entire franchise. A second set of spin-off films about the demon nun, which is prominently featured in Conjuring 2, released in 2018 and got a sequel of its own in 2023. When all was said and done, there are 9 films total in the Conjuring franchise, 4 mainline films that directly feature the Warren family, and 5 spin-off films. Regardless of how you feel about the individual quality of these films, this is objectively one of the most successful horror movie franchises of all time. So when me and my little family loaded up the car and drove 45 minutes to the drive-in theater and bore witness to what has at least been advertised as the final mainline film in the franchise, I couldn't help but reflect a little bit about how far these movies have come in just a little over a decade. That all being said, I'm sure you're wondering if I enjoyed James Wan's grand cinematic finale to the supernatural escapades of the Warren family. The Conjuring Last Rites is loosely based on one of the final investigations the Warrens ever conducted into the alleged haunting of the Smurl family in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. The film actually begins with what is essentially an elongated flashback sequence detailing one of Ed and Lorraine's earliest cases in 1964, as they investigate a haunting surrounding an antique mirror at a curio shop, after seeing a vision of her unborn child with the antagonistic entity in question. A pregnant Lorraine collapses and goes into early labor. Ed rushes her to the hospital, where their baby is horrifically stillborn, but through the power of prayer, revived by Lorraine, who names her Judy. 22 years later, Jack and Jeanette Smurl give their daughter Heather that very same mirror on the day of her confirmation, which obviously instigates an incredibly volatile haunting that threatens to destroy the Smurl family from the inside out. The Warrens, retired due to Ed's failing health, are slowly pulled into the West Pittston home as the entity also torments the now adult Judy, who, just like her mother before her, has a particular sensitivity to the world of supernatural. Confronted with the literal ghosts of their past, the Warrens must fight not only to save the Smurls, but themselves from the most dire threat they've ever faced. Wan's writing is pretty standard for what you would expect from this franchise, albeit with one major exception. He abandons the typical slow escalation formula that is so common with haunting movies. Most films in the genre follow a slow burn formula, where the haunting entity begins with small, almost minute moments of supernatural activity that escalate further over the course of the film, culminating in one final climactic showdown between our human characters and whatever supernatural force is tormenting them. This film ditches that first part of the prompt by having the ghost turn the haunt-o-meter up to 11 from the very fucking beginning. As someone who has been forced to engage in the Where's Waldo-esque search for paranormal activity in the background of haunting films for nearly 2 decades now, I really appreciate when a movie is willing to just throw it in your face and say, yeah, these people are haunted as shit. Despite that, one does kind of fall back into the very typical slow burn formula as the other films, replacing the slow escalating haunt of the Smurls with a slow escalating haunt of the Warrens. Outside of the aggressive nature of the entity inside the Smurl home, the writing in this film is pretty close to what every other movie in the franchise, for better or for worse, as the escalating torment of the Warrens mirrors that of the families from the first 2 films. This of course leads Ed, Lorraine, and more prominently, Judy to realize that they were actually the target of the haunting all along, creating these circumstances for, predictably, one final showdown with the ghost that started it all. The acting in this movie is actually pretty airtight, with nobody turning in a bad performance, including some true standouts. Vera Farmiga's Lorraine Warren is as close as this franchise has to a main human protagonist, and as usual, Farmiga provides the best performance of the film, making every scene with Lorraine feel truly meaningful as she carries the weight of the franchise on her back, having to make the idea of a psychic going from town to town ghostbusting feel both realistic and impactful. Patrick Wilson, on the other hand, always seems like he's having the time of his life in these movies, hamming up every moment he has on screen with an infectious energy as the almost offensively masculine Ed Warren. Wilson is the perfect contrast to Farmiga, and the dynamic between the two of them is a giant reason these films have found the audience and success that they have. The two are genuinely believable as a married couple that truly cares about one another. Mia Tomlinson, on the other hand, who is a relatively unknown name to American audiences, delivers a possible star-making performance as Judy Warren, the psychic daughter of Ed and Lorraine. Tomlinson does an excellent job portraying a woman desperately trying to ignore the supernatural entities that constantly surround her, perfectly capturing the fear and desperation of someone who is running as fast as they can from their family's terrifying legacy. Her facial expressions and the slight changes in her voice all create a truly outstanding performance that rivals any in the genre and will hopefully open up some more doors for the young British actress. The cinematography of these films is always where they have truly shined. James Wan has consistently had an eye for inventive and jaw-dropping shots, and that doesn't change in this most recent outing. Director of cinematography Eli Bourne carries that baton into this movie with some truly awe-inspiring shots and creative framing that helps set a tone of unease and dread throughout the entire film. Even in the more calm moments, you feel a sense of foreboding as you try to anticipate the next scare that could be on its way. Cinematography is, in my opinion, one of the forgotten arts of filmmaking. Many common moviegoers never think about the impact of how a film is shot, framed, and filtered has on its quality. Films are, after all, a visual storytelling medium, and cinematography is the ultimate manipulation of that medium in its highest form. Even though I am not always a big fan of his writing or directing style, this is something James Wan has always understood and seems to only hire those who also understand it, because in just about every James Wan production, there are several shots that make me go, damn, that's sick, I wonder how they did it, which in many ways is the ultimate compliment a cinephile like myself can give when discussing his film's cinematography. Conjuring Last Rites is perfectly fine, nothing groundbreaking or overtly offensive, but a serviceable conclusion to the story that had started 12 years ago. I cannot recommend you spend the unreasonable amounts of money it requires to head to the movie theater nowadays, but if you have enjoyed the previous entries of this franchise and you have 2 hours to kill once it arrives on streaming platforms, you will probably enjoy this one as well. The climactic finish to the most profitable horror movie franchise of all time, Conjuring Last Rites, receives a respectable 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this review and want to see more of my film opinions in highly edited video form, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, and rest of your week. Be kind to each other, believe in yourself, and I'll see you soon.